Welcome back to Fiction Flux. What's up, Fluxers? Today, we're swooping into the world of fanfiction, and I'm stoked to share this new, what-if scenario with you all. Imagine a reality where IzukuMidoriya, the brave and determined hero from the My Hero Academia series, had a totally different persona. What if Deku was Batman? So, sit back and relax, and get ready to dive into this action-packed new story. There was a time where a baby was shined in the hospital of Keiki in China. Each individuals were given special and unique abilities called quirks. It began to increase slowly when time has passed, beginning to form the society of heroes, like many people dream of being one by stopping villains and criminals alike, getting approved by the government of their heroic acts. Getting the credit and money is what the people with quirks wanted. Certain people with quirks often refer themselves as the best of all heroes from earning their popularity, which is taking over of the hero society. Sometimes bullying and abusing their quirks to the people who are quirkless is often seen throughout the years. The real question is, can a person without a quirk can be a hero? This is the story of the quirkless vigilante turned hero among super-powered heroes called the Batman. 16 years before Izuku is born. Morning. In the nice and comfortable neighborhood where many young kids can visit local parks, schools, and temple shrines. A nice brown house that is 2 stories, new, and quite expensive. Inside the house, it is very decorated and well organized in many ways. In the kitchen, a young Japanese woman with long black hair is cooking a delicious meal for her family to eat breakfast. Her husband, who is reading a newspaper while drinking his coffee. An American man that is well built, black hair, broad shoulders, looking formal for getting ready to go to work. Reading a newspaper about heroes saving people from the burning building. Drinking his coffee when his wife putting the food on the table. Kiyomi, what should we do for our little boy's birthday next week? Well, Alan wanted to invite his friends over for a birthday party. His wife replied, "Why?" "Because I wanted to take you both to Hawaii." In Alan's gray-colored room, has posters on the wall, tons of comics stored on his shelf, action figures of certain heroes he likes. But the hero he truly admired is the gray-hooded hero called the Gray Ghost. His quirk allows him to turn into smoke to sneak through vents, phase through objects, and teleport. But the hero retired of his old age, but it didn't bother Alan for him to quit as a hero. Today is the day where his mom is taking Alan to the doctors, so they can check on Alan for checking his blood of whether or not he possesses a quirk. His mom has the ability to create fire smoke in any shape or form. Unlike heroes who are skilled, his mom doesn't have any experience using her quirk for self-defense. She's just an ordinary mom with a quirk. On the table, drawing his future costume on the piece of paper. Alan is a 5-year-old boy with light peach skin. Like his mother, he has a sharp soft black hair, hazel eyes, wearing a black long sleeve and shorts. Since he's half American and Japanese, his face and eyes has a feature of an American like his father. With the pencil pressing on the paper, his first costume is a black cloak, a silver skull mask, and red armor. His hero name is the Reaper. Beware evildoers, you will be feared by the Reaper. Putting a deep tone in his voice with little effort. Thinking about, he didn't like it. Nah. Getting another piece of paper, he drew another costume he has in mind. This costume has a gray hooded cape, gray armored boots, a hockey-inspired mask, and black suit. This hero he calls it, the Phantasm. Putting his voice into a deep tone. Halt, you scum. Your angel of D. Alan, your breakfast is ready. Coming. Alan was about to say death and found that to be brutal for a hero. He put his papers back at his drawer and left his room to go downstairs in a rush. At the table, his parents are glad that Alan can join them to eat breakfast. Good morning, sport. Sleep well. Alan nodded multiple times of excitement when he's eating his rice and veggies. Alan, your father and I have something to announce. Alan looked at his parents of confusion and silently gulp of what they gonna say and might be predictable of what they're gonna say. His guest is getting a brother or a sister. What is it? Alan asked. His parents looked at each other and nodded. "We're about to take to Hawaii after your birthday party," his father revealed. Alan went speechless when he stopped himself from eating his rice. Coming out from his father's mouth, Alan doesn't know how to respond. His parents are waiting patiently for his response. For real? Alan is shocked of the revelation. His parents smiled of his loud comment and nodded. Alan is surely excited to go on a family trip to Hawaii. "That's so cool," Alan continued. "So that means we can go to the beach and many other places." "That's correct, Alan," his mother replied. Alan feels like a lucky boy. Wow. First my quirk, my birthday party, and going to Hawaii. Alan smiled of excitement. It gets even better. Alan's parents enjoyed their son's kind, innocent nature. They truly loved their son in every part of their hearts. They hope that Alan will have a very bright future of happiness. At a place where young children can learn and play, Alan is in class with many young kids who are playing with toys, coloring with chalks, and talk about their favorite heroes. Many kids in school, they talked about heroes every day when see them in morning patrols, the news, and pretty much they see them everywhere. Alan likes to share his friends of his favorite heroes, but personally his favorite is the Grey Ghost. Alan's friends really like to hang out with him. He's smart and knows the knowledge of heroes. After all, he is a smart kid. Gathering themselves in a circle, Alan's friend, Chosuk, is showing them his quirk. Check this out. Chosuk shows off his green textured hands to show his camouflage quirk. His green hands turned into multiple colors and turned himself invisible. Whoa! Alan and his friends were in awe of their lizard friend. Chosuk disabled his camouflage quirk. "What's your quirk, Ken?" "Mine's goo." Ken turned himself into a blob. Alan's friends wants to show off their quirk. Fireballs. Hideo displaying his quirk on his palms. Earth. Deku turns his arms into hard rocks. Lastly, a girl part of Alan's group, Yuki, shows off her quirk. I have sparkles. The electricity popping on her soft hands. All of Alan's friends show their quirk for the first time to each other and amazed of their powers. One thing's missing is Alan. "What's your quirk, Alan?" Ken asked. Thinking a way to answer Ken's question, Alan says, "Well, I have fire smoke, but somehow I can't use it. After school's over, I'm going to the doctor's to check if I have a quirk." "Oh, I hope you have a quirk, Alan. It will be so cool to see," Hideo said, kind of admitting that his fire smoke is better than his fireballs. "Yeah," Alan's friends agreed. "If you do have a quirk, show us next week," Deku said while the rest nodded. Speaking of next week, the school bell rang when the teacher informed the kids. "All right, kids, enjoy your nice lovely weekend." The kids are excited to go home. They grabbed their backpacks and exited out. Alan and his friends grabbed their stuff and left. Alan's friends told each other to have a nice weekend and separated each other to home. All kids walked and picked up from their parents. Alan's house is not too far from school. It will be a nice stroll. It's a good thing for Alan that his neighborhood is very safe and quiet. Walking past the park, a faint sound of thud can be heard. Alan stopped himself for making sure he heard that correctly. A grunt by someone is nearby. Jogging to the source of the grunt, Alan hid behind a tree and shocked what's he seeing. A boy with glasses in Alan's age is being bullied by a third grader. "Come on, you nerd. Give me your lunch money so I can buy more trading cards." Wanting the poor boy's money to buy heroes cards to show off his third grade friends. The boy in glasses is holding his stomach from the punch while hiding his tears. I don't have any." A third grader bully put his shoe on the crying boy. "Don't you lie to me, nerd. I know you have some money deep in your pockets." Putting his foot on the nerd-looking boy pretty hard. Satisfied, the third grader smiled by showing off his shape-shifting hands. "You know, it's funny to see a quirkless boy like you have no chance against someone like me." The bully pressed his foot a bit hard while the boy started to cry even more. Sickened of that disgusting bully, Alan did not even think what's he up against. He made his first move, to confront the mean kid and defend the weak. Hey! The bully instantly looked what's calling him. The boy looked at Alan with a sad expression and shocked of what Alan is up against. Leave him alone, you jerk. The bully took that insult as a joke. Awa, the little boy is trying to play hero. Alan stood his ground of keeping his distance. Wanna hear something about heroes, little boy? Alan lets the bully talk about heroes. Because I want to be a hero, too. Shocked from the bully's mouth, Alan is furious in the inside that a jerk like him wants to become a hero. Heroes help people, not harm. Alan yelled of making a point while the crying boy is shocked. The bully had enough of Alan's little mouth, and he will enjoy this personally. You know what, how about I give you a knuckle sandwich and join with that crying baby? Alan is already feeling scared of what the bully is gonna do with him. Fear is the main emotion he's already feeling. The third grader is in front of Alan, and immediately delivered him a punch in the stomach. Alan spat out some saliva from his mouth. Now he's holding stomach from that punch. You know, standing up to me like that, I already felt bad for you. The bully said. Do that again or else I'll give something to remember by. Putting his hands into his pockets and left the playground with no money. He'll just have to find another little pipsqueak. Both kids are on the ground while holding their stomach. The boy in glasses slowly got up. Walking towards the boy who stood up to the bully, Alan slowly looked up and noticed that the boy wants to grab his hand. Accepting his hand, Alan got up with the boy's help. And nobody stood up to me like that, thanks. The boy said. Alan basked of the boy's statement. I always wanted to help people when I become a hero. The boy in glasses was amazed of the confrontation. I believe you will be a great hero. The boy's statement will be in Alan's mind forever and grateful for the support. What's your name? Smiled of his question. Alan Knight. Fully revealed his full name. Jake Santos. Nice to meet you. The Filipino boy said. When I grow up, I want to develop technologies like my father. Alan really liked Jake's goal. Cool. Like making computers and all that stuff. Jake nodded. Yeah, like making cool inventions and costumes for heroes. When you become hero, me and my father can make a costume for you. Alan felt like he wanted to explode. Really? You mean it? Jake happily nodded when he looked at his watch. Oh no. I need to go home or else my mom will get me mad at me. Alan totally forgot about being home a bit early. Oh yeah, I need go home, too. Well, see you around, Jake. Alan ran to his home and waved. You too, Alan. Jake waved back at him and left. Both kids are glad that they're officially friends. A minute later of running, Alan is a bit tired and worried that his mom will get mad at him. He hoped that his mom won't yell because he was never late to go home. He opened the door with his key and said, Mom, I'm home. Oh, there you are, Alan. Leave your backpack here and brush your teeth, because we're about to be late to the doctor's. Alan's mother is getting ready to go. Okay. Alan left his backpack and immediately went upstairs to go at the bathroom. In the bathroom, Alan quickly grabbed his toothbrush and put some toothpaste. Brushing his teeth in a fast pace, he is ready to get his quirk. With his teeth clean, Alan left the bathroom and went downstairs to leave. His mother asked, Ready? Uh-huh. Alan nodded while smiling. Opening the door, Alan shouted in his mind, This is it. I am getting my quirk. Alan and his mother left the house when the door is closed and locked. In the evening, the door is unlocked and opened by Alan's mother and a very sad and broken Alan. Slowly putting off their shoes, Alan slowly walked while looking down, went upstairs and never bother eating dinner. Alan. Is there anything I can get you something? Kiyomi asked in a soft tone. Ignored his mother's kind words, Alan reached his room and silently closed it. Deep in her heart, she is so severely felt bad for her little boy. She just want to see him smile, not having a sad face. Feeling the tears in her eyes, she let it out and started crying. I'm so sorry, Alan. I'm so sorry. In Alan's room, Alan is sitting down on a chair thinking about his future. But the sad part is that he doesn't know what he'll do in the future. Looking around with his sad eyes, seeing posters of heroes and the gray ghost, action figures, and comics. All he can think of is heroes. Just him alone. Alan silently started crying of his dream being crushed. The words that came straight out from the doctor's mouth is, he cannot become a hero because he's quirkless. In 8:40 p.m., Alan's father is nearly a few blocks away from his house. Working with the Hero Association government, Mr. Knight believes that Japan needed a hero to stop all crimes and villainy. The crime rates are very rampant. But it will be all over soon. Eager to go home to see his wife and son. He wonders that his son has a quirk, and if he does, Mr. Knight will surely support his son. Finally home at last, Mr. Knight parked his car and locked it. Walking towards the door and unlocked it. His wife looked at her husband while watching TV in the living room. "Kiyomi, is everything all right? You look a bit brooding. Did something happen?" Mr. Knight said while walking towards his wife. Kiyomi slowly got up from the couch to reveal something about their son. Alan's quirkless. Mr. Knight is left a bit speechless and surprised. What? The doctor told us that Alan somehow completely can't inherit my quirk, because they check on his DNA and found nothing. I just don't understand. I told them that it must be some kind of error, but the doctor is so certain that Alan cannot access his quirk in any other way, so it confirms that Alan is quirkless. Mrs. Knight wiped one tear of thinking about it. After that, me and Alan went to the car to go home. I know that he wanted to cry, but he's holding it back. Kiyomi continued. Then we went inside the house. He hasn't spoken one word or even looked at me. So I asked him, is there anything I can get you something? Alan ignored me and went to his room. Kiyomi is saddened to her son like that. I felt really bad for him. His dream to become a hero is gone, and him being sad. Feeling the tears in her eyes. I just want our little boy to be happy again. Kiyomi wanted to cry again when she hugged her husband. Mr. Knight hugged his beautiful wife back for comforting her struggle with Alan. It's okay, Kiyomi. I'll go talk to him. Mr. Knight said. I'm sure he'll accept being quirkless. And if he doesn't, Kiyomi asked. He will, Kiyomi. He will. Mr. Knight assured his wife while they don't want to let go of their hug. A few minutes later. With the lamp still shine on the table, Alan is on the bed while hugging his pillow. Still thinking negative thoughts of him being quirkless. He doesn't want to admit to his friends that someone like Alan is quirkless. Guess being a hero is not an option for him, but Alan refuses to believe that. He just doesn't like being quirkless. Alan's negative thoughts was interrupted by his door opened by his father. Alan, his father spoke softly. May I come in? Alan slowly nodded in reply. Alan's father slowly entered his son's room and sat on Alan's bed. Your mother told me what happened. Alan looked away slightly of his father, knowing the truth. You're feeling angry that you're quirkless. Alan is shocked of what his father just said. How did you know that I was angry? Alan sadly asked his father. Because, Alan, it's written all over your face. Alan's father said. Alan slightly moved his head and asked another question. Are you mad that I can't be a hero? Of course not, Alan. Why would I be mad at you? Alan's father asked. Because I don't have a quirk like my mom. Alan said. Alan. Mr. Knight called his name when Alan directly at his father's soft eyes. Being a hero doesn't mean that having superpowers and do things what other people can't. It's about doing the right thing. Alan continued listening his father's words. Before quirks exist, Alan, who saved people from the burning building. Firefighters. Alan answered. Exactly. Who takes the bad guys to jail away from people? Alan's father asked. Police officers. Alan answered. See? These people are considered to be heroes because they save other people's lives. Mr. Knight said. Quirkless or not, all of us can be heroes. Alan's attitude changes when his father proved a point about heroes. He is glad to hear that statement. Dad, what makes a hero so perfect? Mr. Knight started to think about and answered. Their mistakes. Mistakes? Alan tilted his head slightly. Everyone makes mistakes. You, me, your mom, everyone, and I do mean everyone. And do you know why, Alan? Alan's father said. Why? Alan asked. Mr. Knight paused for a moment. Why do we fall, Alan? I don't know. Why, Alan said. So we can learn to pick ourselves up. Mr. Knight answered. Alan finally gets the meaning in a full effect. He did once get punched by a bully and Jake helped him get up. Learning that mistake, he will be aware from that next time. Is making mistakes a good thing? Of course, because that is how we learn in life. Mr. Knight said. Alan felt really happy from hearing his father's words and didn't have any negative thoughts in his mind anymore. He accepts himself being quirkless, and being a hero is something he can forget. Alan yawned for having his day pretty long. Tired, buddy? Mr. Knight asked his son politely. Alan nodded while rubbing his eyes. All right, let me tuck you in. His father puts a blanket on Alan to make him feel comfortable. With Alan ready to go to sleep, Mr. Knight gets up and walked over to Alan's lamp to turn it off. Heading to exit his son's room, Mr. Knight stopped for one moment before going to bed. Hey, Alan. Yes, Dad, Alan asked. Do you want to watch The Cloaked Rider tomorrow? Asking his son to go watch to the movies. Uh-huh. Alan nodded a bit wildly. When? Tomorrow, I'm getting out of work a bit early. Like somewhere between 6 or 7. Alan's father said. Is Mom going, too? Alan asked. Yes, Alan. All of us are going. Mr. Knight answered softly. Good night, Alan. Good night, Dad. The door closes softly and leaving Alan a bit excited to watch a movie tomorrow. It's an official, Alan puts his goal as a hero behind, and now focus something he's good at. For now, Alan's motivation as a hero has ended. Never bothered being quirkless. His eyes slowly closed, and finally went to sleep. Tomorrow. At exactly 6:44 p.m., Alan and his mother are waiting for his dad to pick them up to go watch The Cloaked Rider. The movie was released weeks ago and surprisingly available to watch. It's about a man who wears a cape, rides a motorcycle, and beats up thugs for the name of justice. Alan is the only person who is excited to watch that action-packed movie. Kiyomi is very glad that Alan is finally happy again for having a talk with his father. Loved seeing her son excited to watch the movie. Kiyomi is patiently waiting for her husband to return home. Until she sees her husband's car arrived and honked. Alan, your father's here, let's go. Alan followed his mom to leave the house. His mom closes and locked the door. Since it's quite chilly outside, Alan and his mother are wearing jackets for the cold weather to keep themselves warm. Both of them went to the car where it's warm inside. So, Alan, are you ready to watch The Cloaked Rider? Alan nodded rapidly. Let's hurry, we don't want to be late. Alan's chuckled of his excitement when Mr. Knight pulled the car lever and put his foot on the pedal and driving their way to the movies. While driving, Alan is gazing at window looking at other places. Mr. Knight quietly spoke to his wife. Since Halloween's next month, do you remember that I scared Alan with my bat mask last year? Honey, that wasn't funny. Kiyomi turned serious. You nearly sacred him half to death, and you should know that he has a phobia of bats. Sorry, I didn't know he was afraid of. Promise that you won't scare him again, Kiyomi asked. Mr. Knight couldn't say no to his wife. I promise that I won't scare our son like that again. Good. Kiyomi happily said. What? Alan is confused of their conversation. It's nothing, Alan. Look, we're here. Mr. Knight doesn't want to bring up that scary memory. parked at the street where the movie theater is 11 minutes by walking, but couldn't park near the theater because all the cars were parked. They have to walk to get to the theater. The Knight family stepped out of the car and on their way to the theater. Almost 11 minutes by walking, they finally reached the theater booth. "Hi, what movie would you like to watch tonight? Can I get 3 tickets to The Cloaked Rider, please?" Mr. Knight asked. "2 adults and 1 child?" the theater worker asked. "Yes," Mr. Knight said. The worker pulled out 3 tickets to The Cloaked Rider. "That will be 2,985.25 yen. Mr. Knight pulled out his wallet to give the worker money. The worker gives him the tickets. "Here you go, enjoy the movie." "Thank you," Mr. Knight said. With that done, Alan and his parents went to the door so they can enjoy the movie together. Alan is totally excited to see some action scenes in the movies. It will be the day that Alan will never forget. 2 hours later. At the Knight family stepped out of the theater while Alan is talking to his parents about the cool and awesome scenes in the movie. It's only 5 people who were watching The Cloaked Rider. Mr. Knight noticed something different. Wow! Did the streets have a power outage or something? The streets therein is nearly dark while some of the light posts were flickering on and off. And it's quiet too. Kiyomi commented while she hasn't seen one person in those streets. "Don't worry about it, the lights will turn on any minute," Mr. Knight said. "Come on, let's go home." They all walked to the street where Alan's father parked his car. While walking their way, Alan said, "Hey Mom, Dad, what's your favorite part in the movie?" My favorite part is where he fought over 30 bad guys," Mr. Knight answered. Alan's mother nodded and agreed. "Yeah, that part was cool." "Wanna hear my favorite part?" Alan said. "What is it?" Alan's mother asked. "The part where he chasing the bad guys with his awesome motorcycle, and they were all scared of him." "Yeah, that part was also cool," Alan's father agreed. Alan loves holding his movie ticket, and it might considered his favorite movie. A bit far from the Happy Knight family, there was a young guy in the messed up hoodie, watching them walk towards him. The young guy walked towards the Knight family with a suspicious-looking walk. A minute later, Mr. Knight noticed a guy is walking towards him. Alan's father is getting a weird feeling about this. Immediately, the guy pulls out his gun and said in a nervous tone, "Give me your wallet now." Kiyomi immediately shielded her son while Alan's heart rate started to increase very high. From up close, he never seen a person with a gun before, and now he threatens his parents for his father's wallet. Mr. Knight can tell that a nervous person with a gun is over 20 years old, and it must be the first time for him using a gun on somebody. All right, just take it easy." Alan and his mother are terrified while shaking. Alan tries to calm himself while saying these words in his thought. "A hero will come. A hero will save us." Alan gripped his mother's jacket while looking around for a hero to come. Alan's father slowly pulled out his wallet from his pocket and handing it over to the thug. "Here you go." Giving his wallet to the thug, he accidentally dropped it. The wallet dropped on the ground. The thug grips his gun tightly while shaking. "It's fine, just take it. And leave." The moment the thug looks down at the wallet, Alan's father decided to attack the thug with a yell. The scared thug instantly pulls the trigger at Alan's father. Blam! The bright flash shot Mr. Knight in the heart, killing him instantly. "Ah, Alan, run!" Kiyomi screamed out loud at her son. The shocked and scared thug shot Alan's mother to shut her up. Blam! A fully scared Alan stares at the killer with his sad, scared little eyes. The thug is also scared as well. He took the wallet and sprinted away from the scene, and never looked back at the scared little boy. Alan is trembling, breathing, crying while looking at his dead parents in front of him. Horrified, Alan dropped his ticket and kneeled in front of his dead parents. Mom, Dad. The tears is all over his cheeks. The chefs from a restaurant came out a door from hearing a gunshot. They are all shocked that a crying little boy is in front of his dead parents. "Quick, call the police." the chef said while the other chef went inside the restaurant to contact the police. The other chefs walked towards the crying Alan. What happened? The chef spoke softly. Alan couldn't say a word right now. A hero didn't come to save them. The light post shines on Alan and his dead parents. This is how happen. This is how the Batman is born. Bunch of police officers and ambulances entered the crime scene. Breaking news. A terrible incident has occurred when a wife and husband has been shot dead on a concrete road by a man with a gun based on the boy's description. If you identified this man, please contact the nearby heroes or police immediately. Showing a sketch of a young man. The camera shows the police officers comforting the boy who is streaming down with tears on his eyes. The boy is lucky to be spared and later to be identified to be the son of Rick Knight, the vice president of the hero government agency who is now officially deceased from the crime scene. The doctors wrapped the dead bodies and put them to the ambulance car and drove away from the crime scene. It must be a very sad for the young boy to spend his last moment with his parents. In other news, a group of the criminal organization known as the Penguins has been taken custody for stealing rich valuables in recent theft activities throughout Japan. Sitting alone on a chair traumatized in the police station, hearing phone calls while the police officers are teaming around the station with papers and escorting common criminals. Hasn't spoke a word when the police arrive the scene. Alan still has red puffy eyes while looking every corner of the station. Deep into his thoughts and looking down at the floor, everything went silent. The police officer footstep touched the floor blam. A gunshot echoes the young boy's mind and ears. Another police officer's foot touched the ground. Asterisk blam. Asterisk gunshot still echoes the poor boy's mind. Everything looks slow when another foot from the police officer touched the ground. Asterisk blam. Asterisk expecting another foot to touched on the ground. Excuse me. Alan's dark thoughts was interrupted by a police officer. Your grandfather's here. Alan's grandfather walked in a hurry to see his grandson is okay. When he stared his grandfather with his sad puffy eyes, the officer left for not interrupting. Alan's grandfather walked slowly to his grandson and keeled down to his height. Received a call from the police that they found his daughter and son-in-law dead on a street, excluding his grandson. Reached the police station as fast as he can, to see if his grandson is okay. The old man kneeled in front of his grandson, and gave him a warm-hearted and comfort hug. I'm so sorry, Alan. I'm so sorry what happened, I promise you. I will take good care of you. A tall figure wearing a suit, an appearance of a dog that is black and white made his appearance and caught their attention. I have great news to announce. What is it? Alan's grandfather asked. We got him. Alan's face didn't change a bit when he heard that. That murderer killed his parents. In the sad and rainy day of attending the funeral for Mr. and Mrs. Knight in the cemetery. The only people there are Alan, Alan's grandfather, and Rick Knight's workers and friends wearing formal suits from the hero government. A lot of them felt bad for Rick's son for witnessing his father murdered up close from a low-life thug. The saddest person of all people is Alan, who is crying silently and mourning. After mourning the loss of the Knights, others with umbrellas started to leave while Alan and his grandfather stayed for a while to mourn. Excuse me. A sad little boy and his Japanese grandfather looked back from a voice being called. A tan-skinned bald man in a suit and holding his umbrella. He walked towards Alan slightly. Are you Alan? The little boy nodded in response. The man closed his eyes for feeling bad for him, and opened his eyes. I wanted to say that I am very sorry for what happened. I'm Kaito Santos, by the way. Offering him a handshake, of which Alan did, and now knows that's Jake's father. Your father was a great man, a friend. And it's unfortunate that he's gone. The father of Jake continues. We will make sure that this will never happen again. The head of Heroes Technician Company promised, as Alan hoped for that to happen. Later during the day. In the Knight's residence, the E-Hall men are taking every properties in the house to sell and move to Alan's grandfather's house, of which he lives 3 blocks from this expensive house. The old man walked around the house as he'll remember this for a long time. All he has to do is to wait for his grandson and other things to be moved away until this house turns empty. In Alan's room, the environment is very cold as the little boy sitting on his chair looking down by having his expression sad, grim, and sorrow. A boy who's gonna have his birthday tomorrow without his friends and his loving parents. No longer going to a family trip to Hawaii with them. This feeling, regret and anger, those powerful emotions is consuming the innocent child's heart. If only he has a quirk, he would have saved them. The anger in his eyes as he look at his notebook of where he made his future costumes of being hero and acquiring a quirk. But it didn't happen. He furiously shred the each papers of his drawings and throw it out of his sad sights. He stood up as he looked at his posters, action figures, and comics of heroes. Enraged, he pushed his toys out of his shelves. Pulled out each comics he stored in his bookshelf. Looked at his hero posters. He ran and ripped each posters as he shredded into pieces. It's all their fault. Blaming the heroes for not saving his parents in that night, Alan ripped one last piece as he dropped both knees on the floor crying. While crying silently, he looked at his hands and gripped that he didn't inherit his mother's quirk. Alan spoke quietly. It's not fair. Couldn't bear the reality this world is. The door opened and revealed to be his grandfather. He looked concerned at his grandson. Everything in the room is filled with toys, comics, and shredded papers. Alan, what in the world happened? Why your room is a mess? Putting a harsh tone to his grandson, the boy looked down and ashamed of his anger. The old man wanted to take back what he said earlier for making the boy sadden even more. He completely understood of what he's feeling after losing his parents. I see. After you're done cleaning, we're leaving. Exiting the room. GG Grandpa. The elderly man looked back at his grandson. Alan stood up and holding back his tears. It was my fault, sniff. No, Alan, his grandfather tries to stop. I could have saved them, Alan said. Listen. His grandfather kneeled to his height. Nobody's blaming you of what you did. It was him. Not you or the heroes, you hear? Alan then said. I miss them, Grandpa. I miss them so very much. As he hugged his grandfather returned the hug to his grandson. I miss them too, Alan. Embracing an emotional hug. I miss them too. The old man slowly letting out his tears as he remembers his beautiful daughter in her wedding day with her husband. Later in a dark cloudy day, Alan carried his school backpack as he entered his grandfather's car to sit and put on his seatbelt. Ready to go, his grandfather started the engine to start as the lights in front of the car turned on. One small e-haul truck drove to the destination to Alan's grandfather's street and house. Alan's grandfather drove to follow to e-haul truck. Alan slowly looked back to see his house one last time as the house has the sign. For sale. The door opened by his grandfather as he and Alan carried boxes to enter. Flicked the light switch on, Alan's grandfather gently placed the boxes on the floor. Alan knew what his house looked like, so he won't have any trouble of where he's going. The house itself is very clean and basic, but nowhere near as great to Alan's parents' home. Put your stuff and belongings in the guest room while I prepare dinner. Alan's Japanese grandfather said. Understood. The half-Japanese and American boy carried 2 boxes, and on his way to go upstairs. After reaching the second floor of the house, he opened the guest room as he entered slowly. The room is not bad, but it's bigger than his old room, and the table is included. Without wasting any time, he placed his black backpack against the wall and opening 2 boxes of his belongings. A few minutes of organizing, he had his clothes in the closet, comic books in the mini bookshelf. One last thing he took out of the box that is so important to him. In his hand is a beautiful portrait of his parents. Contemplating the portrait on his hands as he's staring at his parents' heartwarming smile. A tear dropped at the picture while Alan wiped the tear off his eye. He also wiped the tear off the picture and placed it on the table to remember them by. All of that is done. He leapt on the bed and wait for his dinner to be done. A minute later, the door opened by his grandfather and Alan looked at him. Alan, dinner's ready. At the table, his grandfather and Alan are eating curry and rice for dinner, as they're eating silently. The food Alan is eating is very delicious, and at the same time, he missed his mother's cooking. Living with his grandfather is something he needs to get used to. Eating his meal quite fast for not eating anything recently. With every piece of rice he ate, he is finished. "You're done?" his grandfather kindly asked. HM. Alan nodded. "What do you say?" his grandfather said. "Thank you for the food, Grandpa," Alan said and bowed his head slightly. Liked his manners, the elderly man said. "You're welcome. Wash your plate and be ready for bed. You have school tomorrow." Completely understood, he brought his plate to the sink and cleaned it with soap and water. With that done while his grandfather is about finishing his meal, Alan spoke while heading upstairs. "Good night, Grandpa." "Good night, Alan. Be sure you brush your teeth. And sweet dreams," Alan's grandfather said. In the bathroom, Alan is brushing teeth in many circular motions to clean his teeth. After that, he changes his clothes of wearing a black shirt and black basketball shorts. Going to his new room to sleep, and before doing that, he opened the window to let the cold air to go in. Alan loves cold air in fall and winter, and it helps him to go to sleep. He reached his bed to lay down and grabbed his blanket to cover himself. Laying on the bed in a relaxing position, his eyes closed and going to sleep. Minutes later, he keeps on moving in many positions to sleep, but he couldn't. "Why can't I go to sleep?" He looked at the time and it's 9:52. It's been almost 30 minutes of him trying to go to sleep. But how can he go to sleep? He's facing up where he can see the roof. He realized something back then. "Oh yeah, my mom once told me that to have a perfect sleep without thinking, just think of the color white or nothing." Closing his eyes of thinking a white room, it took Alan 5 minutes as he drifted off to sleep. Light post flickering. The light post shines the road that the whole environment is dark. Where am I? Walking the road that has mist everywhere. "Hello, anybody there?" The quirkless boy shouted in case anybody hears him. His voice echoes everywhere as Alan is aware that there's no one there. Alan walked towards for some reason, and it felt odd that he might be the only one. The can rolled from the alleyway. The boy immediately stopped himself from walking as the light post flickered and turned off. Seconds later, while Alan prepares himself, the light post turns back on as the black figure stood in front of the boy. Alan's heartbeat started to process in a fast rate. The light post flickered off again and seconds later, it turns on, but this time he has a gun in his hand. The boy's eyes can be seen reflected as the figure pointed and clocked it. Alan turns back and ran as fast as he can to get away from the figure carrying the gun. Huffing and gasping air to run fast. "Help! Help!" shouting as he running to an endless road. "Alan, over here, buddy. Come here." The voices. It's his parents. He saw them, waving at him with their scared expression. Putting every foot he step on to go faster, and desperate to go to them. Mom, Dad, extending his hand. Alan, extending their hands to his. Hurry. Something's off. He's nowhere near getting closer to him, as if the road is extending even more. Alan is not giving up. He tries going as fast as he can. Slow-mo. Alan's foot touched the ground. Slow-mo, and it breaks and falls down to the pit. Falling and rolling down to the pit. Oof. Alan hit the ground to the very bottom of the pit. Terrified, he looked up and by the looks of it he fall down in almost 100 feet. He got up and tries to climb up, but found no climbing obstacles to climb up the surface. A water drop can be heard behind. His heart is getting faster in each 5 seconds. He looked at the pitch black area. The pit spaces is very tight as he got nowhere to go. A lot of pair of red eyes glowed and Alan went pale. Gasp. Hundreds if not thousands of bats swarm towards Alan as they are attacking him. Surrounding him while hearing screeches and wings flapping. Screaming of agony while covering himself. His eyes went wide open and gasping while sweating. Alan has woken up from his nightmare. Bats are his worst fear to be encountered with. Sitting and gasping, he looked at the time and it's 5:35 in the morning. Didn't want go back to sleep. His scary thoughts are all over his mind. He turned on the lights as he hated the dark. He went at the table and snatched the picture. Laying on the bed and hugged the picture for having them watching over him. He always hated of having nightmares. Besides, he only has 2 hours of going to school. Alan cried silently and hoping he want another dream like that. The moon shines as the bat flew. Over 2 hours later, birds chirping and flew in the nice sunny morning. During recess for about 10 minutes, a lot of cheerful kids are playing and having fun in the nice weather. Every kid's of course, but not Alan. The boy is wearing a simple white zipless sweater and black cargo shorts. Sitting against the wall while holding his knees looking all depressed. He remembered the night he had. It was a scary dream he ever had. And today is his birthday. Some of the kids looked at the Alan who is lonely. Hey, I heard his parents died. Yeah, I felt bad for him. They dropped the subject and continued playing ball. Alan's friends, Chosuke the lizard, Ken, Hideo, Deku, and Yuki showed up as a group to see their troubled friend. Alan. The depressed boy looked at his friends and never said hi this morning. He stared at his friends and looked down of not wanting to see them for today. He just wanted to be alone. I'm so sorry what happened, Alan. Yuki said softly. Is there anything we can do for you? Ken said. Do you want to play? Chosuke said. Alan simply ignored them, and the only thing he wanted is to leave him alone. Come on, Alan, say something. Deku said. He has 2 choices. Stay quiet or reply. His choice is reply. The bell rang as the teacher stood and shouted, All right everyone, back to class. All the kids stopped playing and excitedly going back to class. Saved by the bell, Alan stood up and walked away from his friends in a fast pace, and looked relieved for not being bothered by them. The rest of his friends are saddened that he ignored them like that. In class after recess, a lot of kids took their seats as Alan moves his chair to a different group table, where he can sit by himself and away from his friends. The teacher saw him in a different table and completely understood if her student wanted to be alone. She heard the tragic news on TV and felt horrible for the young boy for witnessing his parents die in front of him. Alan is sitting while putting his head on table with his arms. Guys, we can't let Alan to be like this. Yuki said with deep concern of her friend. Just leave him, Yuki, it's no point talking to him. Hideo said. Can you guys drop it? Chosuke said as his friends looked at him. Look, we all know that Alan is sad that his parents are gone. But we have to leave him alone, just give him time. All of his friends looked at the sad Alan. Today is a free day, so that means a lot kids could spend their time with their friends or play, while Alan is doing nothing. The bell rang as the teacher said, All right kids, enjoy your Monday night. All the kids are happy to go home as they ran to get their backpacks and leave. Each kids are trying to get their backpacks. Alan got his and left without saying bye to his friends. There is a lot of kids in each classroom leaving, some getting picked up by their parents, going to the bus, and some walking. Every day for now, Alan is getting a ride home by his grandfather. Walking on his way to a certain spot to get picked up. Alan. The quirkless boy looked back and already knows whose voice belongs to. Behind his back, it's his friends with quirks. All of them are standing together, Yuki said. Since today is your birthday, we wanted to give you this. Handing him an origami of a dragon. Alan quietly accepts his gift as he gazes the red origami dragon. Overall, it's a cool gift to have. Happy birthday, Alan. Ken said as the rest nodded while smiling. Alan looked at his friends while holding a origami. His friends are waiting for his response. The boy paused for a moment and pushed his negative emotions away. Thank you, said with a small smile. All of them nodded of liking the gift. If you needed something, just let us know and we'll be there. Deku said while leaving with Chosuke and Ken. See you later, Alan, and happy birthday, said and wave while others did the same. The only person left is Yuki. Both Alan and her looked at each other. I should probably get going now. Bye. Yuki waved and left to go a certain spot to get picked up by her dad. Alan stood still as he staring at the red origami dragon for a while. Then left while having his sad expression on his face. Walking towards the spot, he found his grandfather and arrived on time. Alan opened the door in the back seat and sat while putting his backpack and putting on his seatbelt. How's school? His grandfather asked. Good, Alan said. Alan's grandfather could tell that Alan is still saddened that his grandson changed after his parents' death. He hoped that Alan will get over it and accept it. He started the engine and drove the car towards home. Minutes later, after leaving school, Alan is still in the car while looking and playing with his origami. He looked at the window and saw the park and playground. He noticed that the kids are playing with each other, and they looked very happy. What's worse for him, he saw some kids playing with their parents by playing catch. He also saw a kid holding his parents' hands while walking. That made his heart hurt as they passed by and going home in the next 2 miles. Later. In the quiet night, Alan sits on table while the light shines the table. Already has his day for a long time, but now, he's waiting for his cake to be brought here. Alan didn't bother to bring his friends to celebrate his birthday, because his birthday party was cancelled ever since his parents died. There's nothing here to celebrate his birthday in his grandfather's house. It's only him and his grandfather. Finally, his grandfather arrived as he opened the front door while holding cake he bought in the grocery store. Walking towards the table as he placed the cake on the table. Removed the cake plastic container. After that, he placed 6 candles on the vanilla cake that Alan likes. Used his lighter from his pocket as he lighted up 6 candles. The vanilla cake is labeled in red, "Happy Birthday." Alan remained seated as he's staring at his cake for a while. Make a wish, Alan. His Japanese grandfather is waiting. He wish he can say bring my parents back, but he knows that it won't be true. Alan has only one wish that will make his life great. The boy stood up from his chair and spoke his wish. I wish I have a bright future. He blew his candles with his strong breath and hoped that his bright future will be true. This is it for today, folks. I hope you enjoy this video as much as I did creating it for you. Don't forget to share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. Have a fantastic day, and until we meet again, bye for now.